In this series of videos, we're going to port the Know Your Mentors page to use React. So I have a copy of the working program. Let's go to localhost mentors, and the main page is kym.html. And I'm going to type and do a search for the mentors, and everything seems to be working correctly. So here's the mentors, and here are the departments, along with the last name of the mentor for each department. Now, this is being served from localhost, and it includes some PHP for AJAX requests. And we're going to continue using the Apache web server that's built into XAMPP to serve these pages. But the React part is going to use some code on the web server that basically bundles all of the code that we write, the React code with JSX, gets bundled into a straight JavaScript file. So we actually need a tool chain here to build our website. And that's going to include the React libraries. It's also going to include Node, the Node package manager, a transpiler called Babel, and Babel is going to translate from React and JSX over to straight JavaScript. And it also gives us the ability to use ES6, which is a more advanced version of JavaScript, without worrying about support for people's browsers. So Babel is a transpiler. It's going to take code in one language and transpile it to code in another language. It's going to take React, JSX, and ES6 and transpile it to straight JavaScript. And then finally, we need a bundler, and we're going to use Webpack for that. And Webpack will actually run Babel to do the translation and then bundle all of the compiled code, transpiled code, into a single bundle.js file that we can load from our web page. So getting everything set up in the first place is a little bit complicated, but once it's set up, you don't really have to worry about it anymore. So let's go through that process. And first thing I'm going to do is, in my htdocs, I have this living in mentors. So I'm going to copy mentors and paste it. And I'm going to rename this to React Know Your Mentors, RKYM for short. And then over here, I'm going to go ahead and load RKYM just to make sure everything is still set up correctly and it looks fine. So let's go ahead and get started. I've provided some handy links here, and I'm going to do a fair amount of this from the command line. It should work in Macintosh terminal or Linux shell. But let me go ahead and open a command shell, and I'm going to right click and run as administrator. Not sure whether that's really required, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyhow. And then I'm going to cd to c:\\XAMPP htdocs rkym. So here's my Know Your Mentors folder. And first thing I want to do is turn this into a Node package. And all you need to do to turn this into a Node package is create a package.json file. So let me open Notepad++, and I'm going to save as rkym package.json. And then for the contents of package.json, I'm going to go ahead and click on this first link here. So here's the npm documentation for package.json, and all we really need to get started is name and version. So the configuration is a JavaScript object in JSON format, and it's got a name. So let's call this RKYM, and a version, and I'm going to call that 1.0.0, and that's all we need to get started. So then the next thing we need is we need to configure Webpack. And Webpack configuration lives in a file called webpack.config.js. And here's a documentation for that. It's actually responsive design, so it reformatted the page a little bit. But I'm going to start with this very simple configuration object example, and then I'm going to modify that. So the way I'm going to set up Webpack, let's go ahead and save this as webpack.config.js, and I'm going to paste in the simple configuration. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do module.exports equals that object. And then let's see. So this context, this is basically the root directory, and I don't need it because I'm just going to put everything in the same folder and not worry about it. The entry is one or more files that you provide that have to get loaded when this thing gets built. So basically, it's like having a main in Java or C++ or C#. And what I want to use is, I'm going to call it main.jsx. And this JSX extension is going to indicate that this is a JavaScript XML file, which there's some documentation about on the React website. So this is the input. It's going to load this JSX file. And then I also have to tell it where I want to put the output and the name of the output. Now I'm just going to put everything in the same folder. So dir name is the current folder. And then I'm going to use the default file name, which is bundle.js. So let's go ahead and save that. Actually, I'll put a semicolon there and save that. The other thing I have to do to get this working with React is I need to configure Babel and React. So the other link I provided, BabelLoader. And if you scroll down here, you'll see a README. So there's a bunch of stuff. And it talks about installation. This has most of what we need, but it's not complete. And then under usage, there's a modules directive. And this goes into your Webpack config file. So I'm going to copy that. And in Webpack config, I'm going to add that. And this uses 2 spaces, which is the node standard, whereas the thing I copied from elsewhere used 4 spaces. So let's go ahead and fix the indentation. So I'm going to use 2 spaces everywhere here. And then this is mostly right. So this test here, this is a regular expression in JavaScript that matches all files that have a .js extension. I also want to transpile files with a JSX extension. So this question mark here means that the preceding character occurs 0 or 1 time. So this is going to be the literal character dot followed by JS, and either that's the end of the file name or JSX, and that's the end of the file name. And I'm going to leave these excludes the same, so I'm not going to compile or transpile anything in node modules or Bower components. I'm not actually using Bower components, so I could just change that to node modules. And then the loader is going to be BabelLoader, and then I'm going to change these options, these presets a little bit. So I'm going to use env and React. And that should be everything I need here. So this tells Babel how to convert my JS and JSX files into JavaScript. And the Webpack config file tells Webpack how to do that for the project. And then I also need this main.jsx file, this entry point. And so I'm going to make this just really dirt simple to start with. And so here's an example of hello world written in React. This is using JSX. So here's an example of JSX. I have this HTML-like thing right here as a parameter into the render method of React.dom. So I'm going to start by copying this. And I'll paste it in here, and then I'm going to save this as main.jsx. And then instead of, I don't have a document root in my web page, so let me open kym.html. And I'm just going to find one that doesn't get set by default. So if I scroll down here, I see that there's a your mentors div box. And so that's where I'm going to just put hello world. So main.jsx. Right here, I'm going to get your mentors. Your mentor. So let me go ahead and fix that. Now, the way this is written, it's going to get loaded, or it's going to get executed as soon as the file is loaded. And the way most of the React code examples work is this thing's going to get turned into a babel.js file. And then you load that babel.js file here on your actual page. And since this is referring to this DOM object, the one with the ID your mentor, what they do in the examples is they put the thing that loads Babel right here at the bottom after the DOM has been created. But what I'm going to do instead, to be consistent with what I've been doing throughout this course, is I'm actually going to put this in a jQuery on ready thing. So function, and then all of my code is just going to get loaded when the document's ready. So I'm mixing my jQuery with my React, which is perfectly fine. And then I'm also going to go ahead and import React from React and import React DOM from React-DOM. So I think that's it. If I've done everything correctly, then I should get a babel.js file after I install some more stuff. And then I'm going to load babel.js right here near the bottom of the head. So here's the stuff from the Find Your Mentor tool before. I'm going to add script source equal bundle.js. And if I've done everything correctly, hello world should appear right here at this point of the page, right there. So in order to do the transpiling, I need some additional tools installed, and Node Package Manager makes this pretty easy. So let's start with the stuff from the Babel page, because I will need all of that. And I'm just going to take the released version here instead of the beta. And I'm going to paste that in. And then I need all this stuff, and I also need React and React DOM. And I'm going to go ahead and include Webpack Dev Server as well. And we'll see what that does in a while. So let me go ahead and start this loading. Oh, so I don't have my path here. So let me actually copy this line. And did I install Node on this machine? Let me go ahead and install Node. So yeah, I think I deleted it before to get this clean for my installation. But I'm going to go ahead and delete Node version 9. So I'm starting completely from a clean environment. If you already have Node installed, which you should, you won't need to do this. Node is installed now, so let's go ahead and open a new command shell. And let's try cd czamp htdocs rkym, and let's just say npm-v, see if it's live, and it is. So that's version 5.5.1 of npm. Good. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paste my command from before. So everything from the Babel page plus React, ReactDom, and Webpack Dev Server. And this will take a little while. Okay, so that completed. Now I'm on Windows and it's warning me that it's skipping an optional dependency for FS events and also for FS events here, which are supported on Darwin but not on Windows. But it went ahead and installed this other stuff. It actually installed 651 packages. Ooh, that's quite a lot. And now let's take a look at what it did. So I'm going to go ahead and in my htdocs folder rkym, there's node modules and it has all of this stuff here. So there's all the node packages that were required by that line. And then in bin, there are some commands available now that I can run. And I'm going to use this Webpack command, and I'm also going to use Webpack Dev Server from the command line. And also of interest is that changed my package.json file. So when I ran that npm command, it automatically added these dependencies to my package.json. And so I'm in good shape. So let's go ahead and run the Webpack command to start with. So that's going to be in node modules /.bin/ Webpack. And then two important options, -d for debug version and -p for production version. And the difference is that the debug version has lots of stuff in it that makes debugging easier. It's also much, much bigger. So I'm going to start with the -d version and hit return. Oh. And let's go /. From the command line, I might have to actually do that in Windows. Okay, so I missed something, and I know I missed jQuery. So, I missed jQuery, and I also missed the React preset for Babel. So let's go ahead and install those as well. So npm install jQuery and Babel preset React. Now there's really no way to tell from this error message that that's what was missing. I just happened to know because I've made that mistake before. All right, so those installed. Now let's try that command again. Okay, so this is good. This means it made the bundle. The bundle is 2 megabytes, 2.16 megabytes. And I've already added it to my, so 2 more dependencies in my package.json file. So I already have this script tag up here that loads the bundle. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go to the browser and we're going to try it out. So if I go to RKYM, Know Your Mentor, and hit reload, it says hello world and H1 header right in that spot. So that means everything is working, page rendered correctly. Now in terms of debugging, let me show you a couple things. So I'm going to hit F12 to get into the console. And Elements is just going to show you what's been rendered already. So if I go to my content and then main, your mentors, or your mentor. It's just, you know, exactly what you would see if you typed HTML here instead of React. And if you look at the sources, from the RKYM site, you'll see that you just have this bundle.js. And it's actually really big, and so it's not even showing up here for a while. But this is basically gibberish, so you're not going to be able to go in here usually and understand what's going on. And it's really big. So what you want is going to be under this Webpack folder. And we'll start getting some sources here when we add some modules. So it doesn't include the bootstrap, the entry point, but it will include other modules that are loaded from here. So let's go ahead and restructure this a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and let's create a simple React component. So I'm going to call this class hello world extends React component, and it's going to have a render function. And the render function is just going to return h1 hello h1. So this is a JSX file, and I'm going to store it as hello world.jsx. And then I want to access that from main.jsx like so. So I'm going to render a hello world component. And for that to work, this code needs to access this class. And the way you do that is you import it from here. And then you have to export it from here. So export default class hello world. So save everything. And now I'm going to rebuild my bundle. Oh, and I have an error here. Unterminated JSX content. So this is a singleton script, and so I need to close that tag off. Good, so that's built. And now when I reload, so I still get the same thing. I still get, actually I didn't get anything here. I got an error. Oh, so React component is not defined. This should actually be React.component. Let's try that. And let's rebuild. And now let's reload. Okay. So React is not defined, so I need to import that. Oh, and I need to rebuild it. Great. Okay, so no errors. There's my hello. And if I look at my sources now, under Webpack, actually it'll take a little while to pop up. Under Webpack, here's my component. And I got my main this time too, I guess because I have a component. So I can actually put breakpoints here. And if I reload, it will stop in the debugger at this line, and I can step through and see stacks and all that. So this makes it really pleasant for debugging. because even though it's really loading this bundle, the debug version includes this other stuff. Now I'm going to go ahead and, just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to rebuild this using the production setting. So this is 2 megabytes, and now I'm going to go -P for production, and it's only 117 kilobytes, so it's like less than 5%. But if I reload, it still loads this bundle, which is much smaller now. It's been minified, it's even harder to read, and I don't get my Webpack stuff for debugging purposes. So there's a trade-off there. Definitely do -D when you're doing development, and when you're ready to roll something out to production, use -P. Now there's one other thing I want to go ahead and install, and that's the React Dev tool. So let me go ahead and, under More Tools, Extensions, I'm going to go ahead and at the bottom, Get More Extensions, and I'm going to search for React, and this is the one you want, React Developer Tools. I'm going to add that to Chrome. And so there's an icon here. You click on it when you're on a React page, and it will do the right thing. So I'm going to go back here to my React page and hit reload. Actually, let me hit the button. Pages using production build of React. Open Developer Tools. React tab will appear to the right. Since I already have the Developer Tools open, I have to close it and reopen it. So now I have a React tab. And what it does is it shows me my component, which has been production versioned. And we'll see more about this as well. So let me go ahead and rebuild the debug version. And reload. So now I get a useful name, Hello World component, which shows the HTML inside. Now, one other thing I want to show you is the dev server. So in the same place as Webpack, there's also Webpack Dev Server, and I'm going to go ahead and give it --progress --colors as parameters. And this has some really nice features. So what it's done is it's compiled the whole thing, and it's also started up a server at port 8080. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to navigate there. So port 8080. Here's a directory listing of my root directory for our React Know Your Mentors, and I'm going to click on kym.html. So here's the page as before, and should work the same, like so. But watch what happens. So this is all live. So I'm going to reload here, and it's showing hello, and now I'm going to edit this component. So if you change any of your JavaScript or JSX files, it auto updates it when you save. So hello React, save. You see that automatically got updated to reflect the change that I made. So that makes development really nice. So let's go ahead and add a div box here. And so pretty cool. Once again, that makes it useful for development. It's not completely required, but it is useful. And then one more thing for this video, and then we're done. So another link I provided is for defining scripts. And basically in your package.json file, you can have scripts listed. And then you can name them. And then here's the command line basically you would run to run that script. And so let's go ahead and add a couple of scripts for shorthand. So here's my package.json. I'm going to add some scripts. And then let's go ahead and make a build script. And this will be my node modules .bin webpack-p. So that's my production build. And then let's do debug, which is node modules -d. And then let's do dev. And that's enough for now. So I'll go ahead and save that. And then the way I run these from the command line is I say npm run build. And that runs webpack-p. Let's do dev. And that runs the Webpack Dev Server, and you get the idea.